Do you feel like outbound, the way it has changed now, it's becoming irrelevant for companies to still do outbound?
No, outbound will never be dead for a company, and for a rep in specific is one of the few things that they can control.
And why do you feel people are calling outbound like a dead end?
Because it's not working for them. They're not asking the appropriate question. They're not asking the question of, is the way that I'm going about it? They're asking, is it dead as a medium? And because I think it helps them slough accountability of like the way that I'm going about it. I don't think it's necessarily the technique that they're using that's the sole contributor. It's probably 35%, but the lion's share to me is we are outbounding if we're progressive based on pain. If we think that we're progressive. So we had product centric, benefit centric, we have feature centric, and then we had pain centric. And pain centric was seen as like the gold medal. Did you play any sports or did you?
Yeah, basketball.
Okay, basketball.
He's a shooter, two guard.
And let's say all of a sudden you collided with someone whenever you're going up to hit a jump shot. And when you hit the ground, your leg was on fire. Immense amount of pain. Let's say a 9.5, 10 being like, I wish I was dead. What would you do?
Call my mom.
That's good.
Call your mom, and then what would you do?
No, I would probably I don't know, have the physio come or whatever, someone that could help me out.
Right. So you'd go to the doctor. So
Yeah.
you'd seek them out. You wouldn't be waiting for someone to send you an email saying like, hey, do you need a doctor to evaluate something? You'd go and you'd seek them out. Now, let's say that you hit the same person in the air, but it only caused like a slight twinge in your leg. Like you could notice it, but on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 1 in terms of pain. What would you do about it?
Probably keep playing.
Yeah, but you still had the pain. We're outbounding people that if they had a 9.5 or a pain that was big enough, an acute pain in the present that was big enough, or an impact that would happen to them if the pain was, or the problem wasn't solved or solved for, they would have already done something about it. I see an imperfect understanding of the way people buy. So I'm like, that lies at the crux is, to me, how you can really alter the deck is identifying for them a problem they don't know that they have. So you're not just talking about the things that they do know, but you're bringing to deck the things that they don't know. I'm only going to pay someone to tell me something that I don't know. How to do something, what my problem is, what the prescription is. And so I think that is the main share of the problem in outbound is we're outbounding in a progressive scenario based off of pain that like, yes, I already have the pain. Am I going to do something about it? Maybe it might have a little buyer intent, but we're running a numbers game to hoping we'll run into those people.
What's kind of like your view towards outbounding people who don't know their pain and kind of like trying to show them what their pain is?
Comes down to psychology. You have to ground people in their current state. So as well as best you can, get someone to evaluate where are they today and then contrast that to where they could go tomorrow if they were to change. It's really that simple. We're not good at it. The execution is difficult. Because when you say, well, there's a product that could help them achieve something, create an opportunity, like you listed all these 4 things, right? That's all future state, right? The only value that future state has is in its comparison to where I am today. And if there is value to me as a buyer to leave here to go there, right? So if it's creating more wealth, if it's creating more businesses, if it's getting a spouse, you know what I'm saying? If it's having kids, if it's, taking care of my mother, it really doesn't freaking matter. It's where am I today? And the only way to get their attention from an outbound perspective is to begin to have a conversation and ask questions to get them to process their current state. Sales is not about getting people to buy stuff. Sales is about influencing a decision to change. And the only way you can influence a decision to change is understanding someone's current state and digging into that first and foremost.
In my experience, the specific focus that I found the most result is highlighting a problem that people don't know about. When I was doing this most recent season, I was studying a lot about the medical industry, and there was an inherent difference between a sign and a symptom. And a symptom is completely subjective, pain-based, typically speaking, and it has to be initially noticed by the patient. And that's what most inbound patients will come in for. They'll say like, hey, I have an acute pain in the present, and so I want you to solve for it. But sign-based conditions were signs that are not pain-based, but are indicators to an expert that there's a much deeper problem. Whenever people are brought in for like physicals at the beginning of the year, they're trying to test for non-pain related signs that are highlighting things that the doctor knows, for instance, that it's an indicator of a problem or a condition that they they might have, but the person doesn't notice because it's not pain-based at all. So a great example would be like, they have high blood pressure. It's not pain related, so they don't know that they have it. So unless they come in for an actual physical, they wouldn't have known at all that there was a problem. So these are the deadliest conditions because they go undiagnosed and unknown completely to the patient because they're not pain related. So finding those for prospects is where I've seen the biggest metrics.
Let's say like you injured yourself. You always complain about your elbow or leg or whatever.
It's chronic.
So it's chronic. You know about it. What is your mom gonna tell you?
You either need to do something about it or you need to not complain about it.
Exactly. And how do you feel about it when your mom like tells you about a pain you're familiar with and tells you to go see a doctor to get cured?
You feel annoyed. You're like...
Exactly. And this is my point. With Outbound, people are focusing on pain people are already aware about, and this is annoying. So every time I receive the message saying, hey G, as a CEO of a company, you probably experience financial stress and all this stuff, I'm like, fuck off. Like, yeah, okay, like how is it helpful, like to focus on pain? But what you both said is like what's really helpful is not the pain itself.
It's the problem.
It's the problem. It's figuring out what people are not familiar about because this shows your expertise.
Yes, credibility.
A great example of that is a lot of times I'll request a demo from like prospects that I'm prospecting into or selling into, and I'll just document my journey. And then I'll go to their competitor and I'll request a demo and I'll document my journey. Like, hey, how many calls that they made? How many emails that they sent? Was I able to schedule on the site? Was I, and I usually pretend like I'm an enterprise buyer. And then in the final presentation, I'll document this journey of like, hey, when I requested a demo from you, I got one cold call a week later. I got 0 emails. No one added me on social media. And it's like jarring. And then I'll go to their competitor and I'll document the journey. I got 5 cold calls. I got 3 emails. And then I just shut up and the room implodes. They're like, oh my gosh, we have to go fix this demo request process. I'm like, here's the thing. This is one of the pieces that we can solve for within the engagement. The other piece, is this outbound thing. But just the credibility won on that piece alone and these enterprise deals has taken me to a different level because one of the biggest problems I see is inbound by and large because we're qualifying or banting right off the bat, or we're adding in a step where an SDR has to ask them a certain amount of intrusive questions. It has spiked it down to where the conversion from people requesting a demo and to actually just getting a demo is 9 to 25%. Every time I bring that up to a company, I say, do me a favor. On average, I'm seeing on the high end that 25% of people who request a demo are actually getting a demo. If you do me a favor, if you go back to your CRM and check the rate for me, and if you're, anywhere above 65, then like I'm completely out of my mind. If you're anywhere below 65, they go back internally and they check, and they're like, it's 17%. And I have a meeting, and I've like won the deal in every case scenario so far because they didn't know.
So you can finalize it with, are you finding that you're losing to the competition? You can prospect to that business problem.